On this week's episode of the Pit Therapy Podcast, Kyle and I talk about year one of doing the podcast and just the high points that we've gone through over this last year. And what we come up with is just thank you to everyone who's listened, everyone who's jumped on with us. We appreciate it. And we're looking forward to more. So without further ado, let's open this pit up.
All right, what up, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of the Pit Therapy Podcast. I'm Kyle, and I'm joined I'm joined with Trevor.
I don't know the correct English term. I don't know.
Sure. But yeah, we are back for another episode, and I'm glad to be back. I feel like I've freaking missed a ton the last couple months. So,
it feels like that, but at the same time, I think you've only been off of really one episode now in the last little bit. You've just been traveling and gone and stuff like that, but it seems like we still get our recordings in.
Yeah. I'm just trying to live life, man.
So. Yeah, your work parties and stuff?
Yeah, last week sucked, but whatever. But it's good to be back. I'm glad to be back. I don't like Vegas. I was in Vegas for a week, so it's just not my place, It's not for me.
Listen, man, you got to see Maroon 5. Like, that should have been a dream of yours from the very beginning.
I don't know what you're getting at, but it definitely was not.
Did you go and touch Adam's hand and just feel the hand of God?
I was way far in the back. So a couple things about that. Look, I'm not a Maroon 5 fan, but they legitimately played. He legitimately sang because he wasn't hitting all the notes. And he sang the whole songs, all the songs. He didn't have a backtrack or backup singers or whatever. They were up there and they actually played. And I didn't like it, but I respect it,
I'd sit through Maroon 5. I have no problem with them. I've actually enjoyed their music in the past kind of thing. When we were down with you guys, when we were walking through after the baseball game, there was that guy doing the cover of Maroon 5. And he was solid. Whoever that dude was, we got up there and it was either my wife or our friend's wife who was like, is that him up there? No, Maroon 5 is not playing a random free thing just next to the Texas Rangers baseball stadium.
Right.
So,
but no, it was all right. Cause last year it was Katy Perry. And so nice. She sang 2 words out of every song, and then her backup singers or a backtrack just did the rest.
Yeah.
And so that was annoying. But this one, his band actually plays. He was actually singing. I respect that in today's world,
Sure.
So what's funny though is because if you've seen shows, he always ends up without a shirt on.
Oh, I'm sure.
I wonder if because it was a corporate event that he couldn't take his shirt off because he kept pulling his sleeves up, farmer style, and you could just tell that he was itching to get that shirt off him, but he didn't do it. So
they're we're going to pay you a lot of money. We don't want to see nipples.
Yeah, probably. So I guess he's got a residency in Vegas. I did find out though, Bruno Mars has a residency in Vegas.
I did not know that.
So the reason why though is because I guess he's millions of dollars in debt to MGM for gambling.
Oh, huh.
And so they're making him pay it off by doing a residency there.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool though. Did you try to make it over to the punk rock museum by chance?
No, I didn't have time, but I wanted to. I looked it up and stuff, but I just couldn't do it.
That's the one thing. If I go back to Vegas for any reason, I'm going to make it a point to go and stop by that. I've had a couple of friends go through and they say it's really cool. So,
yeah. Well, they'll have surprise guests that'll do tours and stuff. I don't know if it was last year. So it was sometime recently that the singer from Comeback Kid was doing the tours.
And then they played in that little room.
Oh yeah.
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 So they did that. Our friend Chris, who's been on a couple of times, Shane Told from Silverstein did tours down there at one point. I
Right.
think Shane has a place in Vegas now, if I'm
Um,
correct. So I think he actually does it pretty frequently.
okay. Hmm,
So
that's cool. Yeah.
yeah,
No, check it out. But yeah. So that was my experience.
nice.
What have you
Well,
been up to?
it was Labor Day weekend, so we were just at our family cabin down in. We have it down in southern Utah. It's in Cedar City, and dude, it's just the best place. Like straight up, you get on top of that mountain, and you're on the backside away from the city, so there is no light pollution. So you go up there
Nice.
and all the lights turn off after like all the trailers and stuff. You can see all the stars, the Milky Way. You can see everything. It's just the coolest experience. No sound, no
Yeah.
noise. Dude, it's just so peaceful.
That's
It's
cool.
nice.
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome.
anyone who's seen our TikTok, I'm seeing on the porch of my cabin and I'm scanning. I've got Clifton hanging with nature playing, which,
Right.
that's my version of peace. So,
Yeah.
if you haven't heard that song, check out Clifton Hanging with Nature. It's the best.
Like when you're out in nature, what do you listen to?
It depends. I actually do enjoy listening to hardcore, like heavy music and
Yeah.
stuff when I'm out there. But, if I have it playing out loud where other people can hear it, it's a lot of folk music. I listen to a lot of Rocky Votolato. I listen to a lot of
Nice.
Dustin Kenstrew. The stuff that is just, again, 2005, 2006 era folk music, right?
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of that. But the wife got a hold of my phone on the trip down this time. It was a lot of Dixie Chicks on the way down.
I think they're
So
just called the chicks now. So
a lot of the chicks. So
yeah, dude, that's not bad. But I'm kind of the same way. If I'm like out hiking or doing like active stuff, then I'll put like a little more active music on. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But I will not just play speakers. Like I am not that person. It's headphones or it's nothing.
yeah,
Or like it's unless there's no one around me. If there's no one around me, then whatever. But I can't stand going on hiking trails or being at like a beach and people are just blasting their stupid music. I want to hear it.
yeah. I don't like that either. If I do it and I hear anyone coming, I immediately turn
Yeah.
down or something like that. And
Yeah,
I
you're
don't
a respectful
blast.
person, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So,
Try to
but
be.
the best I can.
Yeah.
So,
That's sick though. That's cool. So what about tours? Any new tours?
ooh, tours. I'm not sure about tours, but there was a lot of new music that came out. I'd
Yeah.
have to go and look at tours. I feel like everything's kind of been announced at this point.
Right.
The latest thing that's coming through Salt Lake is Ringworm is coming through,
Mm, nice.
and I kind of really want to go see Ringworm, but it's also at a 21 and older venue again. Salt Lake, we need a couple more venues. We've got a couple things going, but we need a couple more all age venues where some of these hardcore metalcore shows can happen because they're starting to get booked at these 21 and older venues. And it just changes the dynamic. Not because like I want a bunch of kids there, right? Like the kids are fun. It's
Right.
cool that they're coming out and stuff like that. But there's also a lot of people who just won't go to the 21 and older venues. It's just not their scene. So
I
I
just
don't know.
I don't think hardcore will survive if we don't have under
All age.
21. Yeah, all
Yeah.
age shows. So cuz let's be honest, man, like who were we talking to? I can't remember who we were talking to. It might have been the guys from Strike Face where he's like, I want to be a spectator,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Gooner.
Yeah. Like I want to be like that too. And you're not going to get that. If it's a 21 and older show, then I feel like I have to carry the load and I'm too old for that.
I know. Dude, I went and when I saw day two, I stood, I watched the majority of the show, but they played Vlad right at the end. And I was like, more than anything, just to say I can mosh to day two, I went and I moshed to day two kind of thing.
Yeah,
So, but it was the same thing. You could see like there's a bunch of people holding drinks and stuff, and they were standing next to the pit, and there was like one or two guys who were trying to do a little bit of moshing kind of
right.
thing. And the people were just not happy that they were bouncing into them and stuff. And it's just different.
Yeah.
It's
That's
just
when you
different.
straight up start crowd killing the edge of it.
Right. I thought about, just you kind of go swinging to the side and then hope that they kind of get the idea and back up.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So
no,
yeah, man, I don't know that there's been uh like a ton of tours announced.
I
There's
know.
a bunch of like local stuff coming through Texas that looks pretty sweet. So I'm hoping that after Furnace Fest, I can go out and catch some local shows. There's a really cool like Edge Fest that they're doing down here for a bunch of like Texas straight edge bands. So
Yeah,
probably gonna go hit that up.
dude, that'd be way sick. I mean, here in Salt Lake, come October, we've got like 3 or 4 shows a week. You can be gone almost
Yep.
every night of the month at a show. Uh, if you're not following him, Ill Will Zine runs a page for Salt Lake Hardcore, and he's got a list of everything coming through. Which any Salt Lake Hardcore kid who's actually listening to us, they know Ill Will. But if you're outside of Salt Lake, then if you're curious of what's coming through, dude, Salt Lake is stacked in the month of October. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
So no, there's a lot of stuff. I'm gonna have to pick and choose. I've got some birthdays and stuff, and they're on certain days, and I'm like,
Yeah.
bummer. So,
Yeah.
not bummer that my kids are having birthdays, but bummer I'm missing a show.
Take them with you. These are all ages shows.
It's true. It's true. But I don't know if I'm
Yeah.
taking them to Wild West Fest. So,
I just that fest looks incredible. And I wish it wasn't button up against Furnace Fest, or I would consider flying out for it.
I know it's really close. So, dude, there's so much though. Like straight
Yeah.
up. Well, dude, I might have to get a new computer. I might have to get a whole new freaking setup. It happens every time now.
Yeah.
But anyways, what I was about to say, is I bought a ticket for Tsunami, which is literally the day I fly back from Furnace Fest.
Seriously?
Oh yeah, like I'm tempted to try and find someone to just pick me up from the airport and go straight to Tsunami. So I bought tickets for it.
Yeah.
Which, if anyone's listening to this, you're gonna know ahead of time. I bought 2. One is planned giveaway. It might be a 2-pack ticket giveaway. So
It might be like you buy this ticket and you're on the hook to picking me up from the airport.
that honestly might be my leverage. Is I might be giving a ticket away to catch a ride from the airport to Tsunami. So I couldn't miss. I at least couldn't miss the chance to try to go to this show. Freaking Tsunami, Ingrown, who was it? Apex Predator, I think, is on that one. Like, it's an incredible lineup. So I bought tickets. We'll see if I use them or not. Oh, hi, someone from Salt Lake is going to Tsunami. So
that's how I feel about that Dying Wish Pain of Truth show. It's like 2 days after Furnace Fest. And so
yeah,
I know I'm going to be broken after it.
yeah.
Like I know I'm going to be.
I'm expecting that as well. But I figure if it's the day I'm traveling home, I can suck it up for one more night kind of thing, and then just suffer through it for a few days.
Yeah,
so,
but yeah, stay tuned, you guys, for like this fall. We should have a bunch of cool concert material coming up because there's going to be some sweet shows. So
yeah, no, I'm really pumped.
What about new music?
So that was what we were just talking about. The one that you and I have both been messaging back and forth on, freaking In Angles, man.
Yeah, it's good.
Dude, that single is fantastic. Single's called Melonhead, which it's kind of funny. They posted on Twitter, their X, that anyone who pre-ordered the album or EP or whatever, they accidentally released the whole thing to them. So
nice.
If you did a pre-order, you got the whole album or EP or whatever it was. So yeah. I'm hoping it's out there somewhere, but they just might as well drop it at this point.
I know, right? Might as well. So I've kind of been on like a little bit of a like pop punk streak this week.
Okay.
So I sent you that band today that I just heard. What were they called? Forever Winter or something like that. Winter Forever.
Winter Forever, yeah.
And then
All one word.
Stateside, that song I sent
Okay.
you and Chris. Dude,
Yeah.
that song is so good. Both those bands remind me of like an older emo pop punk sound. You know, I don't know.
I
It's
listened
just
to
cool.
Stateside for just a second. I haven't had a chance to listen to the whole thing. I know, didn't they just go to Pure Noise?
Yeah.
I think they just signed with Pure
I think
Noise.
that's where I heard the song as I saw the notification on their YouTube.
Yeah, something like
But
that. So,
solid pop punk, dude. Like solid pop punk. So
yeah, I need to check
because
that out
I
for
don't
sure.
I don't really mess with the like uh hot water mulligan type, like really heavy on the emo pop punk stuff, you
Yeah,
know? So but these guys like Stateside and Winter Forever kind of have this really cool like in between feel. It's not as heavy on the emo, it's more heavy on the pop punk, but a little bit of like emo influence. So I don't know.
right,
It's good stuff. It's cool.
right. Kick out at 2.
Oh yeah.
Did you listen to that yet?
Yeah, they're cool.
So that's another band that's a lot like Commodity. It's faster, it's higher tuning, it's a lot more punky, you know. So that was a really cool EP that just dropped. Their EP is called, I think it was 20th Century Static, I think is what that was called. Uh, yeah, let's double check that.
Um
Yeah, 20th Century Static is the EP, and all the song titles are movie titles. So you had Under Siege, True Lies, Sudden Death, and Bad
yeah.
Boys, which was dope. So that was fun. Again, it was faster, it was more punky. It had a little bit of a southern flair to it too.
Right.
There's a couple southern parts, which I thought was awesome. It was fun to hear that again. Um, Twist,
The new Twisted Luck.
Twisted Luck. I was just gonna say that.
Yeah. Dude, it's
It's
so
like
good.
it's like thrashy,
It is. It's
dude.
that is like exactly the metal and hardcore sound that I resonate with right now. It is so good. I love the like metallic hardcore influence stuff.
Yeah, I've been listening to these guys a lot. I feel like this is a good step in a different direction for these guys. Like I like their first CP, but this is like they can get an identity with this, I
Yeah.
feel like.
Yeah.
So it's awesome. I really like that song. What else was I listening
This
to?
is very reminiscent of like a lot of the Texas hardcore stuff like Scourge and Fugitive. A little bit of Power Trip in it, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, dude, it's freaking good.
And then the one I can't miss talking about our boys here in Salt Lake, Mummy. Have you listened to these two songs yet?
Uh-uh.
Finality and Fall. So they dropped it. So Salt Lake, we've got a really cool scene right now. There's a lot of death influence.
Mm.
A lot of death. So probably not up your alley quite as much, but it is heavy, dude. You should check
Yeah.
it out. Because like that last what once was EP in 2023, that was solid from Mummy. This is just, dude, it's sick.
Yeah. Yeah. They kind of have that chaotic feel to it too, you know?
Yeah, this one gets a little bit more doomy, a little bit more death.
Yeah, their first stuff was like very
Yeah,
chaotic. This stuff's not, their new songs are not as much like that.
not quite as much. Like you'll have to turn on Finality and you'll hear like right off the intro, you'll kind of hear it where it just is kind of a little bit slower, a little bit more, like I said, doomy death type of thing. But Mummy's like they're one of like the up and coming bands out here in Salt Lake. Like they're great.
That's sick. Yeah, I don't.
So
what else is there? I don't know.
dude, we could talk about new music all day. I think there's been a ton.
Well, especially because we listen to all these local bands and they all have new music, but I don't think any of the like big bands right now. I don't think there's much new music out, right?
I know
I saw
Puny
that.
Flesh
So
dropped.
I don't know if you saw that email that Haste Today sent out, but they're in the studio.
I just saw something today. Yeah, the new music's coming out.
So looking forward to that because they have not put out a bad album
Yeah,
ever. So
yeah. I mean, so like I said, Peeling Flesh. I mean, I'm a few weeks late on this, but Peeling Flesh dropped something earlier in August. So, which is, I know that's not your jam,
yeah,
but that's heavy, crazy stuff. I think that there's a lot, dude. There's a lot of stuff happening right now, and it's great. I think that everyone's gearing up for their fall tour schedule.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot going
So,
on. So I'll bet you we see a bunch of new music in the next little bit as they're getting closer to tours. So stay
exactly.
tuned again. If you come to us for new music, stay tuned because I'm sure we'll have a bunch of it. So before we get into like the topic today, um, can I just say for those that follow us, that post that I made about naming the band, the amount of people that did not know the movie that was from was incredibly disappointing to me. Like, where have you been? It's one of the like it's up there, you know? Like greatest
Listen,
movies ever made. It's up
I
there.
agree. We've made multiple memes off of that movie.
I know.
So,
Yeah, I had a whole
but
bunch of people on the internet like messaging me like, dude, what movie is this from? And I was like,
that's very
get
sad.
out of my face with that. You know? Like I don't even want to hear it. For those that don't know, I'll give you a hint and you have like exactly 1 week to watch it. It's Three Ninjas, the original one.
Oh, nice hint, bro.
All
I'll give
time.
you a hint. You just
I didn't
name
say a hint.
drop
No, I
it.
said I'll tell you. I said I'll tell you.
Oh, I thought you said I'll give you a hint.
No, I'm not gonna give no. I was like reading about it. The robbers, right? Well, I guess they're not. They're not robbers. We're kidnappers.
Kidnappers?
um, the Asian guy.
Yeah.
So so they originally had three guys casted for those three roles, right?
Okay.
There was the guy that plays Fester, the main bad guy,
Yeah.
the blonde haired guy,
Okay.
and then they originally casted this other dude that thought he was playing the role of Fester. And when he found out that he wasn't playing Fester, that he was playing just one of the other guys, he like quit just like on the spot. Was like,
Oh,
yeah,
really?
I'm not doing this. So they didn't know what to do. Well, there's a sound guy that just went up to him and was like, hey guys, I think I can play this role. And they're like, what? And he's like, yeah, I think I can do it. And they're like, okay. So they like, and Fester's given an interview when he's talking about this is where I learned it from. You can look it up on like TikTok and stuff. I can't remember the podcast name where they're interviewing. Sorry. But he explains that like their first couple scenes, like when they're in the gas station, they like purposefully had them split up because if they needed to cut them out, then they could cut them
Oh.
out, you know. But he ended up just like killing it. Like you would never know that the Asian guy that's the one of the idiots, you know, the
Yeah.
kidnappers, that he was a sound guy. He wasn't even cast. He wasn't even an actor. Like he just
I mean,
walked
like,
on and did it.
let's go back and like rewatch that. I'm pretty sure the dude has like 3 lines total. There's not much to
But
it,
he's in it though. I know,
right?
but he still has to like act and stuff.
I know, but I
And when
mean,
he's like, "Yo, Fester, man, I gotta take a major dump right away," like, dude, it's perfect. Like his timing and everything is just perfect. So
yeah, that is actually really epic. That's great. That's good to know.
yeah,
So if you haven't watched
great
it,
movie.
Three Ninjas, we freaking love that movie.
Yeah,
So
I think you could understand a lot of me and Trevor by watching that movie.
probably,
So,
probably. So
all
holy
right.
cow.
Anyways, uh, what we wanted to do today, we have completed a year doing this podcast. So we wanted to just kind of talk a little bit about what our experience has been, some highs, some lows, things we've learned, and yeah, just kind of get our take on what it's like being on this side of it and trying to, you know, help communities out and stuff. So, what else you got? Am I missing anything?
No, I mean, so our year was actually back in June, but between travel and schedules and stuff like that, we just didn't get around to doing this. So this is an episode that we've been talking about doing for a minute now, and it's been interesting, right? What originally I thought this was going to be to where it is today is pretty it's where I want it to be, but it's a little bit different than I expected it.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing that I didn't expect is people actually being willing to talk to us, in all honesty.
Yeah.
Which, listen, I appreciate everyone who has been willing to jump on. And whether you guys consider it or not, I consider you friends now. Like if I'm in your town, expect that I'm going to message you, expect that I would want to see you guys kind of thing. But, it's been cool. It's been really fun to be back involved, back in the community the way that we have been. It was a lot of how we grew up and how we wanted it to be. And to be able to do it at this stage of life with a different perspective than when we were younger, it's just been a ton of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I look back on like our experience in the scene when we were younger, and it was like, we were kids, we were idiots, we were just out to listen to the music and get rowdy. And I don't think, and maybe it's just because of where we were at in life or how we looked at stuff, but I just don't know that we ever really got to a point where we're like, I want to actually do something tangible in the scene, and maybe some of that falls on just like the scene we grew up in. It was kind of already established with people that were doing, I don't know. I don't know. Like I just going to all these shows growing up, I never thought to myself like, oh, I could be a person that's more than just an idiot at a show that's hitting a bunch of people. You know what I mean?
Well, and I'll just talk about like my own thoughts and my own experience, right? Is we grew up in a weird area of Utah, right? We grew up between Salt Lake and between Ogden. So there was very solidified solid groups like hardcore communities in Ogden and in Salt Lake.
Yeah.
And we didn't really our specific group of friends, I think that there was enough of us that we didn't quite fit in either group. We were cool with everyone, right? But like even back in the day, I wasn't like actively like hanging out with a lot of those people. I
Right.
was at all the shows. I was participating in all of the stuff, right? But was I like super close with anyone? Not really. And I feel like that's what I probably needed at the time. Today,
Yeah.
dude, I enjoy being part of like talking to the local bands. I enjoy being part of those communities and like learning about the promoters, learning about the people who are like running the venues, all of that kind of stuff. Listening to the stories of like the stuff that I knew happened back then, but also like
Yeah.
getting a little bit more information about it kind of thing.
Yeah. And
So, yeah,
well, I was just going to say, I think like that's the point that I was trying to make was that like I'm just very grateful at the fact that like we have a chance to make an impact now, hopefully a positive impact on, scenes, as we get involved in our local scenes, as we try and help promote smaller bands, as we try and help make connections and whatever comes forward. Like, I'm just very grateful that like I'm at a place now where, I can do that and I want to do that, and I
right.
think that's been what's been so cool is it's like, this scene thrives on people that like go out of their way to make it thrive. Like the saying that like the grass is greener where you water it. Like I now have a chance to be a person that waters the scene, and like I'm happy about that, because I didn't do that. Like I should have done better. We should have been more involved. We talk about it all the time, like about certain bands. Like, oh man, I wish that like I'd have gotten into them earlier or whatever. Like I wish we were more involved in stuff. But like I'm just grateful that this podcast has turned into an opportunity, not just for us to talk about us, but also us to like give some of these other bands a voice in places that they're not typically heard, and that's
Absolutely.
cool. And that's cool for us. So
Absolutely. And then I'll also say, listen, this is going to be sappy. I don't know who's going to listen to this episode, right? And if this is cringeworthy, like, turn it off, right? But a year ago, right, I was probably at a point in my life that was the most stressful that things have ever been. I've had a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress over the last few years. Honestly, like you moving to Texas, right? Like our friend group was kind of breaking up a little bit.
Yeah.
Not like we've always been friends. We will always be friends. But we get together a couple times a year. We text, we play video games together sometimes. We do things on occasion, but it wasn't as close knit. Being back with you and Josh as frequently as we have been, re-establishing that, talking as much as we have, like there's a lot more like thank you, right? First off, it's been a very positive outlet in my life. And again, thank you to anyone who I've been able to talk to at shows. Thank you to anyone who's messaged us on social medias. Like it helps. Like, we've talked a lot about we don't promote mental health. Like this isn't a mental health podcast like some of them out there, but this has significantly improved my mental health.
Yeah.
And like that's just what the community is. Going out to shows will improve your mental health. It's a dopamine hit, it's an adrenaline rush. It will get you through hard times kind of thing. Go out to a show. If you don't feel like going, force yourself to. It's worth it. It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah. And, like participate, be a part of your scene, give back to it if you can. And it doesn't have to be, we're not talking money,
No,
do something, help a band, help a show, set up, clean up. I don't know, be involved, because I think the world right now lacks a little bit of like brotherhood, and, hardcore that's been its mantra since it started. So
I mean,
if,
it might sound weird, like a social media post or comment on
yeah,
social media or after the show, go and tell them how their set was. You know what I mean? Like
be involved in
hardcore
whatever.
dudes have feelings too. Like they like to hear that.
Yeah.
You know
All
what I
right.
mean?
Hold
Like
on. You
they
took
like
that too far. Hold on. We'll roll that one back. No. Yeah. No. So like, yeah, I think that, we've talked about how this podcast kind of came about of us, we were texting about music constantly, and eventually we got to a point where like, shoot, let's record it, whatever. I'm very grateful for the people that have listened and the people that have commented and upvoted and whatever, like stuff. It's, we're trying, and we don't make money off this. We're just, trying to find a way to give back to a scene that's given a lot to us. So, um, from like I don't know. I mean, do we even care about low points? I don't know that there's been very many low points. So like, what's some highlights for you in the last year?
so. I mean, honestly, I think that very first interview we did with Interpersonal, like that was something that I didn't know how stuff like that was going to go. We kind of talked about it, right? We kind of talked about what if a band would jump on with us and actually talk to us, and what if all this stuff would happen. I had so much anxiety leading into that conversation with Lyle and Evan, and then Jordan coming in later, kind of thing. That it was so weird. But after that one, like I felt much more comfortable and stuff like that. Those dudes were super cool. That was definitely a high point for me. And then the fact that we were able to talk to Jay Ost from With Honor and Ambitions, or Mike Perez from No Bragging Rights. Like No Bragging Rights has been a band I've listened to since 2007
Yeah.
consistently. And it's just so weird that, and the weird thing is like in talking with him, he's just such a normal dude. And it's like such a nice dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He has a lot of the same anxieties that like we have. And it's weird. So the interview stuff has been awesome.
I think that's like one of the coolest things that I've learned doing this is that like we all kind of share the same story. And there's got to be it'd be interesting to have like a scientific study on like people that are in this scene. because I wonder like how much of like upbringing, life status, whatever that we all share that got us to the same point. You know what I mean? Because like just talking to all these bands, like I'm right there with you. Like I've listened to No Bragging Rights forever, and talking to Mike was awesome. Jay Ost was awesome. Rob from Will to Live was awesome because it
Yeah.
was like I put my foot in my mouth because I didn't know who they were, and turns out they're like legit. And
Right.
he was just so nice and so cool and so inviting, and it was just. But like you hear all their stories, and it's like, yeah, some of these guys, you know, like Rob and Jay have been around the block a little longer than I have, but it's the same story. Like we all share kind of the same story. And that's been, I think, really cool and really powerful to hear other people that it's like, yeah, you know, these guys are people I look up to, but like, man, we're cut from the same cloth, you know?
For sure. For sure. So what did you think this podcast was going to be? Like when we first started talking about this?
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of it, which we'll get back to doing more of, we just have been kind of in a very positive, good way, uh, overbooked with a lot of other stuff. But
Yeah.
I thought this podcast was going to be a lot more focused on nostalgia stuff, um, talking about older bands, which we're still going to do. But I think that I was a little surprised at how well received the local episodes have been. Some of the band interviews have been too. So it's interesting to kind of see how all of that just kind of came together. So
Well, and I think the big thing about that, and a lot of people who have listened to this podcast for a while know this, right? But what we loved growing up was finding new music. We sat on MySpace, we sat on
yeah,
Pure Volume, we sat all over on those different websites just listening to new bands. And so that has like reignited some of that old
right.
feelings from back in the day of like new music and stuff like that. I, for the longest time, was set in my ways. You know, like we talk about it a lot, but I listened to a lot of just the 200 albums that were in my CD cases or whatever
Right.
it was. You know what I mean? And I put those a lot of repeats on. This has been really fun to get back into exploring new music because there's a lot of freaking good new music coming out.
Yeah. And I think, you know, I think every band we've talked to has made the comment that like COVID kind of shook people and woke them up, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, it did the same to us too, you know? I just think I'd gone long enough without being involved in this, listening to new music, going out to shows and stuff that I was just like, oh man, like if I don't do it now, like it might be gone, you know? Like I
Yeah.
might never have a chance to again. And so you're exactly right. Like that was our whole, like I remember sitting in my basement and people would come in with a new CD and we'd all just sit there and listen to it, you know?
Right.
Or, you know, we would go to record stores or CD stores, whatever you call them, and find bands or the stupid like Comcast used to have the like
The
music
music
section.
videos.
Yeah. And we found like a whole bunch of bands. I think that was the first time. And I guess I do blame Comcast. They suck as a company. But that was the first time I was introduced to like Aiden, which I
Of
regret, but
course. Yeah.
you know, so it's Comcast's
No,
fault that I ever had to listen to them. But still, like, you're right. Like, that was a huge part of what we did, you know?
we used to sit down in our friend Bracken's basement, and I used to just for hours just click through and watch music videos. You'd watch like the first 10 seconds. If it wasn't good, you just
Yeah.
turn it off, go to the next one
Yep.
kind of thing.
I think
And
that's where we
so
found
much.
Secret Lives of the Freemasons, too.
Probably. Dude, I
Yeah.
found so
Good
much
band.
music off of that.
Yeah.
I used to
So
love music videos. I'm sad that they're not as
it's
big and
big.
important
I
anymore.
know.
Music videos were the best.
I feel like some of that stuff's coming back, though. I feel like the art part of this is starting to come back,
Yeah,
but
I
we'll see.
agree. I agree. I think that it's going to be pretty cool here coming up. So, what was, if you can think back, what was the first episode that we did where it just like clicked? because our first
Oh
couple,
shoot, that's a good
they were
question.
just kind of like, we didn't know what we were doing, right? We had very like rigid outlines of everything. And maybe
Yeah.
we need to get back to that. If we do, like, let us know, right? Because we get off the rails somewhat, but we had pretty rigid outlines.
I
For
think the
me,
misery. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say misery signals.
Me too. Yeah, me too.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That was the first one where I think that everything just kind of clicked. Like, I don't know what it was about that band. And we've talked about them being the band that triggered us to go to Furnace Fest and everything. But that was the band where I was like, oh, shoot. This was music that I, again, should have been more involved with. This is music that I love. This was the band where, after listening to their full discography again, I was like revitalized, re
Mm,
energized for exploring music again.
yeah. Yeah. No, that's. I mean, that's exactly how I felt. It brought back a lot of memories because that was the first. Like the ones before that was like. I mean, Set Your Goals did title fight, but I don't know. Thinking about Misery Signals, like it really brought me back. You know, like still in my mom's car, driving up to Ogden, feeling like wasn't going to make it out of that show alive. Then getting lost on the way back. Um, and then yeah, all the Furnace Fest stuff, their new album that came out a couple years ago, like yeah, that
Yeah,
for sure. The other episode, I will say that I think like really got me excited about just a lot of music again. Was the AFI episode
that was
because
an interesting
that
one.
was a band that was like so crucial and pinnacle to my upbringing. Like I've always listened to them through all their sound changes besides December Underground. That album could die in a fire inside, and I would be okay. And
No, come on, man. Dude, that's Crash Love.
but like going back through their discography, listening to their new stuff that I'd never really listened to before, that I actually ended up enjoying, you know, it just, I don't know. That one really like revitalized kind of like the music where I came from, you know. I
Yeah,
was really happy we did them and had a bunch of funny, good stories about it. And I mean, I still now like probably once a week will throw on the Art of Drowning or the Halloween EP. And
nice.
I haven't done that in like, I don't, dude, it's been like 15 years since I've like consistently listened to AFI, you know? So
Nah, for real. I again, that's another one that was definitely a highlight for me as well. So it's just been, and it's been interesting to see that the bands that we've like all chosen to pick.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like we've had some interesting ones. Like the Offspring, I think was Josh picked the
yeah.
Offspring. That was a band. It was, we said it in the episode. It was like, I don't remember the first time I heard the Offspring because I've always listened to the Offspring.
Yeah,
Like they've always been on the radio. They've been around longer than I've been alive.
yeah.
And so there's things like that
Well, and
where,
as another high point with the Offspring, they liked one of our
yeah,
social
the
media
pretty fly
posts.
for a white guy thing. Yeah,
Like that's insane. Like
right.
that's insane, you know? So
It's just, it's so weird. It's so cool. So there's things like that that have just really like set it off. Um, what? So we did those episodes for 6 to 8 months, right? Is it was pretty much nostalgia bands. We did a couple other things in there. We did like the top 5 post-hardcore vocalists of our that we chose, right?
yeah.
We did a few things like that. It was about January, I think, of this year where we started to get into the local bands. So I think that we kind of did a cop out a little bit with the first ones we did between Absolved and Goalkeeper
Yeah.
because they were bands we were already listening to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But what has been like a band that stood out for you of these new bands, new music coming out?
That's like not a fair question
It's
because
not, but I'm going to make it.
I did like I don't know. I don't know that I can like fully answer that because like we've said this every single time. Like every local band that we talk about is a band that we're genuinely fans of and like, you know? So I don't know how to answer that. I really don't. Do you honestly have like a number one?
I wouldn't say I have number one because I'm a fan of everyone, but the bands that I go back to the most consistently are number one Commodity and number two Sucker Punch.
Okay. So the episode we did on Commodity and Sucker Punch.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely been the bands that I go back to the most.
Okay.
So Commodity reignited like a love for like fast, punky, like that style of hardcore music. Because before that, I was listening to a lot of metalcore still.
Hmm.
It was a lot of metalcore, or if I was listening to fast, it was pop punk. I
Right.
wasn't listening to a lot of like fast hardcore punk. And so Commodity has really like reignited like I love going back and listening to like Brass Tongue right now. I like listening to Kick Out After Two. Like, I go back to like the Comeback Kid albums and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like if we're going bigger. So that like Commodity has been huge for me actually. And then Sucker Punch, dude, like it's just such a nostalgia, easy core, like that melodic, like poppy, hardcore feel. Like I love it. Like Only Day to Remember. You know what I mean? Like that's like my guilty pleasure music, and I freaking love Sucker Punch.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, sure. I agree with that. I I think that I listen to like probably all of them, honestly. So I don't, yeah, dude. I mean, I agree with Commodity, and Commodity is a sound that I don't feel like is super popular right now. So it's a breath of fresh air, and I do listen to them a lot, right? Same with Sucker Punch. But thinking about some of the other local bands we've talked about, like uh, Interpersonal, which we may or may not have heard some of their new stuff, right? And
Yeah,
dude, I'm freaking pumped for it.
right,
It's so good.
right.
So like there's just I don't know. Like this is the biggest if there's anything that I've learned in this podcast, and I'm sure people like don't care, but if there's anything I've learned is that like there's so much good music out there. Like this younger generation coming up is really like is really putting it to like the pedal to the metal, like they're going hard, and there's great music, there's different sounds, there's nostalgic sounds, it's just so good. And I'm just, yeah, that's the biggest thing I've learned is that like all these people that complain about like, oh, there's no good music or all these big bands sound the same. It's like, yeah, because you're not doing your due diligence and listening to our podcast and finding the good local bands that we're finding, because they're out there for sure. They're out there.
Right. Right. And I mean, even if like some of the bands that we've talked about maybe aren't your jam kind of thing, there's something for everyone.
Yeah.
Like listen to like literally go on Spotify, go on to Apple Music, go to your related artists and just start clicking through. Find some of the smaller bands, just start clicking through. Explore like you did on the MySpace days. They're like treat like a top 80, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So no, I freaking love that stuff. And gosh, give love where love is due. Johnny Baseball's last album, still
Super
swinging,
good.
dude.
Yeah.
I
No,
freaking
dude,
love
like
all of that stuff.
all of it, man. Like I know we just talked about Reviler recently. Like
Yeah,
they're still on repeat. The new Gagging Order album,
yeah,
still on
dude.
repeat. Like I just my biggest problem is that I don't have enough time during the day to like listen to everything I want to listen to.
Agreed.
So yeah.
Agreed.
So okay. Um any other questions about I guess what we've done in the last year? Because I kind of wanted to ask what your goals are going forward.
We can talk about that. I don't know, man. I think we're in a weird place right now. because I think it's going exactly how I want it to go. But at the same time, like I do think that there's one more level that we can achieve. And I don't know what that level is. Because I think that this local band promotion, we call them local bands, right? But this local band promotion or the way that, and listen, we're no ones, right? But if we can be a conduit somewhat for people to start connecting, to start relating to each other, like I just had Brandon from Slumped on, and he does Ceasefire Productions out in California. If you're going to the IE, hit up Ceasefire Productions, right? Like if you're coming through Utah, hit up Jaws Presents. Like any way that we can start helping people network and be a conduit that way for people, I think that's the next step for us.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that comes to fruition. I don't know how that, um, what that actually looks like. But listen, again, we're no ones. All we can do is make introductions where we can, kind of thing. But if you ever listen to an episode or have interest in any of these bands and you want to talk to someone, say the Pit Therapy Boy sent you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It might not hold any weight, but I hope that these people like talking to us
It
as much
might
as we
turn
like
you
talking
away,
to
but
them.
you know, yeah, no, dude. Yeah, I agree. And I think that's where that's, with what I was saying before about this like idea of like being able to finally we can give back. Like that's where I hope that we can go too, you know? Like I want people to think like, oh, like if you're a band and you're like, hey, I'm playing through Salt Lake, where do I start?
Yeah,
Oh, I know these two idiots that pop up on my social media every now and then with some pretty dumbass memes. I'm gonna hit them up. That's that's my goal. Like I want people to see us as like a positive force to help build this, because like you're in such a good time. Like you're in such a good time and spot to be a band because it's so easy to make these connections. And like I'm happy to do like a lot of that lifting for you.
right,
Like I'm happy to like that's what I want to do. I can't play instruments, I can't sing, I can't be in a band to go do this, right? But if I can help you and your band, or if you're a kid that's like trying to get into a scene and doesn't know where to start, and we've talked about a band in South Carolina, like hit us up, if you want to know when shows are or want to, whatever. Like I hope that that's where we can go is be this like positive force to help people get more involved in the scene.
right. And if you roll through Salt Lake and you hit me up, you'll have at least one person at the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll come out and see you, kind of thing.
Same with Dallas, dude. Like hit me up. I'm down, you know?
So I think that that's what I hope. If everything else is lost, right? I hope that there's at least that, you know. And again, like I'm a nobody, I'm a no one,
Yeah.
but I know who you can talk to. I can at
Sure.
least send you in the right direction and hook you up that way, kind of thing. So, you know, is that what you were looking for? Is that
Yeah.
what you're?
Sure, dude. I don't know. I don't know what I'm looking for. Yeah.
Yeah,
Look, look, we've been doing this a year. Like we have been growing. It's a great feeling. We get more engagement the more we do this. We're very, very grateful. And I think that's what we wanted to get across with this episode. So a lot of people might have turned this off already, and we understand it's a sappy episode, but we just want to make sure people understand that like we're grateful for like this community that has been involved with us, you know, that's been supportive of us, that has communicated with us, all the bands that have reached out to us and followed us and talked to us and reached back out to us when we bug them. We just want to make sure people know that like we are nobodies and we're grateful that, people have tried to like be involved with us.
right,
So that's all I wanted
100%.
to, that's all I think we really wanted to get across in this episode is just, we've had a real fun time the last year and we want to keep growing this and helping and giving back to the community. So
Last thing I'll say is we seriously appreciate everything. it's weird being on a podcast with you because I'm comfortable, right? Like I have no problem talking to you. I am extremely introverted when it comes to outside of talking on the podcast and talking to you. Like I don't know if that actually comes across when we're actually talking on the
No.
podcast because like I feel like once I get into this setting, into this mode, it's very easy. It's very natural for me. I have no problem asking questions. Like for my job, that's what I do all day long. I just ask questions and I get to know people, and it's not a big deal. But when it comes to actually being in person and around a group, I shut down. So anyone who has come up to me at a show, I said what up, anything like that, I sincerely appreciate it because if you're not doing that, I'm sitting there and I've got anxiety and dread about, do I go talk to someone? Do I sit here looking like a dumbass? Do I like, what do I do? Like, even at 33 years old, I still have that stress and anxiety.
Sure.
So, greatly appreciate anyone who's listened to us, said hi, said what up, anything like that. You're awesome. I appreciate that. So,
Yeah.
keep doing it. Keep doing it.
Yeah. No, dude. I mean, I agree. Feel the same way. It is doing this podcast is funny because we mean you've known each other for over 20 years. You know,
Yeah.
it's just like normal talking to you, but I have never had as many issues. You've known me for a long time. I have
I
no
know.
problem making a fool of myself in front of a lot of people. I've done that a lot in my
You
life.
were often the icebreaker
Yes.
for the group. So,
Yeah.
yes,
But
I do know that.
but as I've gotten older, you know, it just gets harder. So
Right. So, in the end, though, I'm having fun. I don't care if people are listening to us. In all honesty, at this point, this is for me and you kind of thing. Anyone who interacts with us, again, you're all my friends. If you have commented, if you've messaged us, if you've jumped on with us, kind of thing, I appreciate it. You might not think it, but I consider you a friend, and so thank you to everyone. We'll see how long this goes.
yeah.
So
Yeah. It's a ticking time clock till either me or Josh say something to get us canceled. So
right, and Josh is coming back soon.
and
So
Josh is coming back soon. So if you guys missed him, he'll be
sooner
back.
or later.
We've missed Josh. I've missed Josh.
I've missed Josh
So
too. I tried calling Josh today. Didn't freaking answer a little wiener. So
yeah. He's the
and
most busy person I've ever met.
I know
And
he
I don't
really
even know
is.
what he does.
Cool.
So
Well, we'll be back next week. I think it'll probably be an interview, but we'll have to see. And dude, we're
yep,
coming up quick to Furnace Fest.
it's a
So
month away.
yeah. So we'll probably ramp up for some of that too.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
So all right, man, this is
Okay.
good.
Yeah,
This
this
is
is
good.
fun. Okay, peace.
See ya.